Good morning. Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Joel, and I am your worship associate today. I'm joined by our minister, Reverend Sian Wiltshire, who will be speaking to you today about education to exploration and why we put the E back into the RE program. Here, we also have our co-music directors, Steve Morahiro and Susan Shaw. Our piano accompanist, Carrie Zhu. Guest musician, Amelia Rousseau-Newstad. And last but not least, certainly not least, Danielle Lewis, our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth. We all welcome you here this morning. Whether you've been coming here for years, weeks, or hours, like gardening, venues, or flowers. We are glad that you chose to be with us this fine day. I do want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you'll find it here. We're a community of many different beliefs and identities. We're bound together not by dogmas, beliefs, creeds, or fears, political parties, or classes, but rather a covenant to create a welcoming, inclusive, and loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. In the spirit of building this community, let's go ahead and recognize the many volunteers who have helped put this service together today. Thank you all for your time and talent. I'll give you that. Roomers, we do invite you to silence your cell phones. And Zoomers, we do invite you to say hello in the chat. As we worship today, let us also acknowledge that our church property rests on the sacred ancestral homelands of the Ahachiman and Tongva peoples who seek justice and responsible stewardship. We begin our worship today with the lighting of our chalice. Please join me as we sing our unison affirmation together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our opening song.
We haven't sung this song in a while. Carrie's going to play through the chorus once, and then we are going to sing the chorus twice.
Travel any country where your heart leads, and know that I will love you still. You can live by yourself, you can gather friends around, you can choose one. special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done.
Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusivism and the feeling of being especially privileged.
Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies.
Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears and unknown calamities.
Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing the children with the warmth of happiness.
Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies.
Other beliefs are bonds in the world community, where sincere differences beautify the pattern.
Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction.
Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide, vast for exploration.
May all our beliefs, whatever they are, give everyone born a place at the table. right, I want to ask you to raise your hand if you can think of a teacher who really mattered to you. Yeah, mine was Mr. Wire, high school. Raise your hand if you ever had a teacher who took your questions seriously, even the strange ones. And raise your hand if a teacher ever laughed at one of your jokes. No. You know, teachers are people who notice us. They notice when we're quiet. They notice when we have big questions rolling around in our heads. They notice when something is off and when something is wonderful. And here at OCU, you see we have many teachers who with our kids, who work with our kids. Some use the lessons plan that Danielle here has planned, and some create their own lessons to pass on their skills and passions. But more than the lesson plans, they love our kids. In our tradition, teachers do not tell our young what to think. They help them think for themselves. They take their questions seriously, even the questions that make grown-ups kind of nervous. They sit with them while they wonder. So kids, I want to let you know that that is what your teachers do for you. And grown-ups, that is what these teachers have been doing for years and years in this congregation, and it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because people choose to love these kids through teaching. So today we're going to thank those teachers, and Danielle, our wonderful Director of Religious Education, has some words for them and a little something.
I'd like to invite the teachers up to the stage if they would like to come up so we can give you guys some great little gifts. That includes, like, Nav, you've helped out a lot. I think I saw Finn. Could you get Finn for us, please? Okay, no problem. Nicole, I know Nicole's not here, and Mia. Mia's also helped a lot. You're more than welcome to come up here with us. Yes, and Miss Amelia, thank you so much. I'm just very, very grateful for these amazing teachers. These guys have really poured their hearts out into these kids. I just love how much they get together with the kids. They sit down one-on-one with them. They're able to really just have good conversations with them and have good relationships with them, and I absolutely love that. I've taught kindergarten and school age for about 7 years, and honestly, this is the best group of teachers that I've ever worked with, so I'm extremely grateful for them. If any of the kids would like to come up and help me pass out the gifts, you guys are more than welcome to.
Come on up.
Come on up. I thought Noah would be. So I just really want to thank you guys, the teachers and the congregation. I appreciate you guys just letting me be here and help you guys just really encourage your children. So would you like to pass out cards to everyone for me, please? Thank you. And then would you like to pass out some cups to everyone, please? Here, I'll hold the bag and then you two can pass them out. How about that? There we go. All of these friends. Thank you. Very grateful for you guys. Thank you. You guys are more than welcome to sit down. But yes, so grateful for you guys for helping me with the lesson plans that I've made up, and Miss Amelia's come in and helped with doing meditation. Nav has come in and helped us. He's so great with the kids. I just really am very grateful. And also Finn, I know he's not in here, but I want to say a special shout out to Finn, one of our youth kids. He's so great. He just comes in and hangs out with the kids, and I'm just very appreciative of his time and effort. So, thank you, Finn.
All right. I also want to mention Elizabeth and Jacques Kilshore, who are not here at the moment. They have been regular teachers for how many years?
And Maria.
For
a long time. Yes.
Longer than I've been here, and that's 13 years, so I'm guessing 30 years or so.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's sing our children and our teachers out to the religious exploration classes with this song. right, who here knows who this handsome dude is? A few people in here? Well, if you're Unitarian Universalist, you should probably know who this guy is, the Reverend William Ellery Channing. He was a 19th century Unitarian. He's considered the father of Unitarianism. He kind of helped really define what it was in the 19th century with a famous sermon actually called Unitarianism. But he also he helped found and develop who we are, who the Unitarian denomination was at that time. And in 1837, he addressed what was known as the Sunday School Society, so the people who were all running the Sunday schools. And he wrote this. It's almost like a manifesto. He said, "The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own. Not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steadily with their own. Not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth. Not to form an outward regularity, but to touch inward springs. Not to bind them by ineradicable prejudices to our particular sect or peculiar notions, but to prepare them for impartial, conscientious judging of whatever subjects may be offered to their decision. Not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought. Not to impose religion upon them in the form of arbitrary rules, but to awaken the conscience, the moral discernment. In a word, the great end of religious education is to awaken the soul to excite and cherish spiritual life." Thus ends the reading. So I'd just like to invite you then to consider his words. If you want to just take a deep breath, go to that place of contemplation, if you like. If you want to soften or close your eyes, and just think for a moment. What do you think of this 19th century manifesto about religious education? What did you like about it? What might have been missing? When you're ready, please join Amy in singing this lovely song.
I seek the spirit of a child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond all art. May I see joys of gift to our heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines that light on all we see. Children are real beyond all fears. May I see hope's a gift to our tears. I seek the wonder of a child who sees delightfully. Now clouds and cloud, now golden sun,
When I was in seminary, I did a field placement as part of a class at a very large Unitarian Universalist church in Seattle as a youth advisor. Now, in this congregation, it was a large congregation, so they had about 40 or 50 teenagers, youth. And they were all very thoughtful, kind, and a little fierce at times. And one evening, I remember we were sitting in a big circle, large group discussion, as sometimes we would do. And I remember one of the youth sort of turned to me, and in that particularly challenging expression that only youth can have, she said, "So, why is it that Unitarian Universalists believe in the dignity and worth of every person, but they also believe in killing babies in abortion?" She was quoting our first principle right back at me. So I took this deep breath, and I said, "Wow, that's a really good and insightful question." And that's something like this. I said, "First of all, not all Unitarian Universalists are pro-abortion, though most are pro-choice. And there's a difference. And just because you hear your minister speak their opinion about something does not mean that they speak for everyone or that you have to agree with them. What we do as Unitarian Universalists is treat each other respectfully when we disagree." Hint, hint. Remember, we need not think alike to love alike. And secondly, I said, I am, like most Unitarian Universalists, pro-choice. But it's not because I like abortions. My mother had one. And the thought that I might have a little brother or little sister is kind of heartbreaking to me. But I also know that she got pregnant in the middle of a nasty divorce with my father, with the very real possibility of raising her 4 children alone with no job in her future. I can't judge her for her decision because I wasn't her. I wasn't facing what she was facing. And she deserves the dignity and worth of making that decision about her life and her body. I said, it's okay to disagree. The key to being a Unitarian Universalist is not that we agree all the time. It's that when we disagree, we do so lovingly and respectfully. I've thought about that conversation a lot over the years. I thought about how she trusted the room to ask that question. She made me think about how we're teaching our youth in the moment, and made me think about religious education in general. As we heard this morning, William Ellery Channing said, "The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds on the young, but to stir up their own." Not to stamp, but to stir. Now, for most of us, I'm guessing that most of us says, well, of course, we're Unitarian Universalists. But in 1837, that was really radical, right? In a country where most religious instruction was about getting the children to memorize the right answers in catechisms and reciting doctrines, Channing was saying, no, our great end is to awaken the soul, to stir up their own minds, to make them thinkers. And that vision is the river that has run through Unitarian Universalism religious education for almost 200 years. In fact, our movement helped pioneer what became known as a child-centered model of religious education. Instead of seeing children as empty vessels that have to be filled, liberal religious educators began seeing children as inherently capable of moral and spiritual insight. Sophia Lyon-Fahs, who wrote our opening words, was one of the great architects of Unitarian Universalist religious education. She believed that wonder itself was sacred. She moved Unitarian Universalist religious education away from the rigid Bible instruction and toward more experiential learning, storytelling, nature, creativity, science, comparative religion, and ethical reflection. She famously wrote, "It matters what we believe. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are like open, wide vistas." open wide vistas. For generations, that openness became one of our greatest gifts to the world. We taught children to ask hard questions, to not fear science, taught them that other religions contain wisdom, to care about justice and think critically about power, examine prejudice and oppression, to trust their conscience. And that all sounds really great, doesn't it? To raise our children this way. So why is it, I have been asking and you might ask, why is it that our religious education attendance numbers have declined steadily across all denominations, not just us, and also here at OCUUC? Because I can tell you that the vast majority of those 40 to 50 youth are not coming back to the church. What happened? What changed? The world did, and unfortunately we didn't change with it. So let me explain a little bit about what happened. If you think back to the 1950s, right, Sunday school made sense the way that we did it then. Most American families assumed sort of lifelong religious participation, right? You found a church, you stayed there, you raised your kids in it. And unlike today, children had a lot of unstructured time. Mothers were often at home. Sunday morning was sacred, usually by social agreement, if not by law. You dropped the kids off at Sunday school, they learned the basics, you trusted the rest of your life, like the rituals and the holidays and things like that, the dinner table conversation, the shared assumption of the culture, which was primarily Christian, would continue that teaching. But Unitarian Universalists in that era did something rather brave and beautiful. We took Channing's vision seriously, and we followed Fa's lead. We built curricula that did not indoctrinate. We honored children's questions. We pulled them out of the sanctuary and gave them their own rooms, their own teachers, their own lessons designed for their developmental stage. Kids came week after week learning as they went. By the 1970s, we created some amazing curriculum for our kids. For example, Our Whole Lives, right, that taught about human sexuality in ways that are healthy and positive and age-appropriate. And for one of those, in fact, our high school curriculum of OWL, it takes 26 life-impacting lessons to it. And the kids loved it. But then starting in the 1980s, things started moving really, really fast. You had people like Phyllis Tickle. I love her name. She's a faith formation scholar and an Episcopalian priest, and she's called that what we're going through right now that started in the 80s is a great emergence. She's talking a lot about the Christian church, but it applies to us as well. It's kind of religious upheaval that happens every 500 years, and some people are like, yeah, 500 years, whatever. There's an upheaval. She talked about the Christian church. Her conclusions, though, I think apply to all faith traditions. So let's look at a little bit at what actually has changed. In 1960 households, 45% of the households basically were nuclear families, right? Where you had a mother and a father, and your kids then were part of that, right? And about 70% of them, only one parent was working of all those households. By 2023, nuclear families make up only 23% of all households. On top of that, you've got about 25 to 35% are single parents, whether by choice or by divorce. You've got 66% of the parents are working, 2/3 of them working versus 1/3. 40% of single households like me, no kids. Now, on top of that, you got more cultural shifts. Sunday morning stopped being really culturally sacred. You have soccer practice coming in and other sports or extracurricular activities. You've got custody arrangements that split kids between two homes, so they're often going to two different schools even. Parents got busier and busier. The nuns, people with no religious affiliation, doubled in a single generation. And meanwhile, the entire country entered this digital age. right? From the industrial to the digital age. And information becomes infinite and attention becomes scarce. And wait, that's not all. On top of that, parenting has changed drastically in the last decades. There was a couple of years ago, the US Surgeon General's had an advisory called Parents Under Pressure. Mothers now spend 40% more of their time per week on childcare than mothers did in the mid-1980s. Fathers have increased their time on childcare by 154%. Kind of makes you wonder what they were doing in the 1980s, but okay. Now, the fascinating thing was, so if both of them are working, when does that time occur that they spend with their kids? On the weekends, right? Of course. You know, about 33% of parents also report high levels of stress in the last month, compared to 20% of other adults. About 48% of parents say that most days their stress is completely overwhelming. It's almost 50%. And about 65% of parents and 77% of single parents experience loneliness. And these are the people that we're asking to volunteer each Sunday for our religious education classes, the most overwhelmed humans in the country. They want a break. I don't blame them. And then, so meanwhile, the structure we built in the post-war era, 2 teachers in every class, and we have to have 2 teachers in every classroom. It's for the safety of the kids and for the adults, right? That's what I grew up with, what you had to do. I remember when I became a UU. And the curriculum builds on itself each week, right? Which requires weekly attendance. But we know that kids have all these other things going on, so they're coming in every once in a while to church, right? There's also sort of the liberal idea of letting kids form their own ideas, which is great, but it's turned into kind of a permissive culture where if the kids don't want to come to church, okay, they're not required to, and that's assuming, of course, that the parents even have the energy to make them come. And while we're so focused on stirring up our children's mind and letting them think for themselves, we sometimes forgot to give them a community to belong to. I mean, think about that. We pulled the children out of the sanctuary. We just sang them off, right? To go over there in that other building. Sometimes it's in a basement of a church. And that was the right call for their developmental learning. But we did not always teach them what church then is. We taught them about world religions and ethical reasoning and gender identity and stewardship of the earth, which is all really good. But we did not always teach them how to build a covenanted community. We taught them strong values, but didn't teach them how to disagree without leaving. We taught them how to express themselves, but didn't teach them about the hard work of community, like volunteering and pledging and governance. Fun stuff, right? We taught them the importance of loving themselves, but did not teach them what it takes to build that beloved communities. They don't hear our joys and sorrows and how we take care of one another. While we ask our adults to foster and develop relationships with one another in small group ministries, right? We didn't invite them into that relationship either. In fact, when researchers asked the few who actually did stay at their church past their youth that came back, they said that the one reason they stayed was because they developed relationships with adults outside of the religious exploration classes. So they grew up and then they didn't really come back. Not because they rejected our values, often because they just never fully experienced church as their spiritual home. And of course, there are exceptions to all these. But most of the people probably sitting here in this room did not grow up UU. There's a few of you here. But most are refugees from other faith traditions. Here's what it is. David Sisnos put it this way. He said, faith formation is no longer about forming just an individual person. It's about forming a member of a community who will in turn influence the wider world. It's also about forming a member of a community. And that's the piece I think that we need to recover. That's the question kind of in front of us. How do we form Unitarian Universalists who know themselves to be part of something bigger than our own free and responsible search? How do we teach our children and ourselves that the search itself is a communal act? I think this is some of the rethinking that we're called to, and why I'm so excited about what we're doing here at OCU-UC with our healthy expansion and a research team, right? We're looking at how are we going to be growing in intentional ways. It's part of our growth strategy. We're reimagining religious education, and in fact calling it religious exploration, which is way more accurate. Because we want to stir up minds, not stamp them. But we're also going to be teaching our children what it means to be part of a larger community, and that's going to mean you all, too, helping out with that. We've got to weave their formation into the life of the whole congregation. And we're exploring different ways of teaching, whether it's Montessori style or workshop style, so they don't have to rely on that curriculum that builds every single week. We're finding ways to involve children in the life of the church, whether it's the choir or the board, maybe, worship. We're going to invite parents in as partners, not just volunteers, giving them the support that they need to maybe bring those conversations back to the dining room table. We're going to take seriously that spiritual growth is a full week practice, not a Sunday morning event. And I want our children to grow up knowing how to think for themselves, and I want them to grow up knowing where they belong. Thank you, Bella. And here's the thing. When we talk about how and what we are teaching our kids, we're not just talking about the congregation, right? We're trying to build kids that are going to reach the wider world. This also applies to our country. Because what is happening to our democracy right now is, in part, what happens when a whole society forgets how to think for itself and forgets where it belongs. I mean, just read the news, as annoying as it is, right? So, for example, we're right in the middle of a redistricting arms race. Everybody is trying to change it, right? Texas withdrew its map last summer at the direct request of the president, manufacturing 5 new Republican seats. California responded with a map of its own that would offset those gains. And then Missouri followed, and North Carolina followed. And it won't stop there, because the Supreme Court now has effectively gutted the Voting Rights Act. And this is the law that ended Jim Crow at the ballot box. And while we're bombarded daily with the erosion of our democracy, we've mostly missed the president's family has added an estimated $4 billion to its net worth since he returned to office, much of it through cryptocurrency ventures supported by foreign governments. As one example, there was a $2 billion deal with an United Arab Emirates state-backed firm that netted the Trump family millions of dollars through transaction fees. This deal just happened to be followed 2 weeks later by the loosening of U.S. exports on advanced computer chips to the UAE. And then on top of that, a month later, the man who facilitated that deal and who had been convicted of money laundering received a presidential pardon. These are not partisan allegations. These are findings from congressional reports and the Wall Street Journal investigations. But we're so overwhelmed by the daily noise that we're missing the quiet, methodical theft of our country's integrity. We need to begin with our children and teaching them integrity, where they belong. Thank you. And meanwhile, we've also got get our information through algorithms designed to keep us angry and afraid. We live in silos. We read only what confirms what we already believe. We fight with strangers online and stop talking to our neighbors. We forget that the person on the other side of the political aisle is not our enemy. They're not faceless. They're a person. They are our neighbor. They are the person we're supposed to be in covenant with as Americans, as humans, as members of the family of all souls. And we too have lost the practice of disagreeing without leaving, the practice of listening hard to the person who sees the world differently, the practice of building beloved community across differences. So when I tell you that our religious education has to change, that we have to teach our children both how to think for themselves and how to be in community, I'm not just talking about our kids. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about our beloved America. We need to put people of integrity into office. We need an overhaul of an election system that has been hollowed out by gerrymandering and dark money. We need to get rid of the filibuster. We need rules that force our leaders to actually work across the aisle, because right now, they're not even pretending to. We need to teach ourselves again how to disagree without leaving. We need to remember that we are stronger together than we are apart, and that the alternative is that remembering is the unraveling, that the alternative to that is the unraveling of our democracy. And this is a faith that has always known how to do this work. We are the people who have, for 2 centuries, refused to choose between freedom of thought and the bonds of community. We've insisted on both. We've insisted that you can think for yourself and belong. You can disagree fiercely and hold love at the center. That is the great end of education, is to stir up our minds, and the great end of religion is to bind us together in community. And we need this faith right now. The country needs this faith. You know, the youth in that circle all those years ago asked me a very hard question because she trusted the room. That's part of what we're building here, a room where we do not stamp minds, we stir them, a room where we not flee from one another when we disagree, a room big enough and brave enough to hold a country. And I want us to be that room for our children and for our neighbors, for a democracy that is gasping for air. I do not know exactly how to fix our religious education. I have some ideas. I hope you do too. I do not know exactly how to fix our country. I have some ideas, and I hope you do too. But I've lived long enough and loved this faith long enough to know this: there is no map for the road we are walking down. The people who came before us, Channing in 1837, Foz and the other religious educators who fought to teach our children, the freedom fighters who bled for the Voting Rights Act, none of them had a map either. But they did have each other, and they had a direction. They had courage. And they had that stubborn, holy refusal to not give up. And that's what we have too. So let us walk, not because we know the way, but because we know the general direction toward beloved community, toward a faith that forms whole human beings, toward a democracy where every voice counts and every neighbor matters, toward the day when our children will stand in rooms like this one and find that we have built something worth inheriting. The road is steep. The road is long. And we're going to walk it anyways, together. May we be the faith that this moment requires. Amen, and blessed be. Let us sing.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, and we know we will. It will be hard.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are partnering with Share Ourselves, also known as SOS, a nonprofit organization that seeks to empower and stabilize OC families and eliminate poverty in Orange County. And they are also our neighbors here across the street, here across Mesa Verde Drive. They offer health care, social services, financial assistance, and food distribution. In 2025, SOS served over 15,000 patients with quality health care and distributed over 78,000 grocery bags to those in need. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or use an app called Banco Mobile. And if you are in the room, you can simply use the basket as it's passed around. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. And as always, thank you for your generosity.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be a mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light to show you the way home.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I want a house with a round table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world, for young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seed. Plant a little happiness, let the roots run deep. It's love that we give, and it's love that we need. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seed. Yeah, I want a house with a round table and a place by the fire for everyone.
let us sing We Gather Together, a song that expresses our gratitude for the gifts that we share. Gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Well, now is the time when we honor the important events and people in our lives, and you are invited, one and all, whether you're a member, a friend, a visitor, everyone is welcome, roomer, zoomer, to participate in our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. I'd like to begin by inviting Don Martin up here. He's one of our pastoral care team members, and Rachel Leiden is also kind of helping out as she is in training as one of our pastoral care team members. So the idea is, if you've been holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days, weeks, or hours, something that struck you at your core, if you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow by coming forward and lighting a candle, you're invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you can light it here in person. And if you'd like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it out on a slip of paper like this that the ushers have and can pass out to you if you haven't picked one up on your way in. Now, Zoomers, you're invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat, and then Don will light a candle for you. And once the roomers are done lighting their candles, I'll read all of these joys and sorrows that have been shared out loud. So as music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. Please come forward. All right, let's see here. Nancy L., she lit a candle of joy because I mentioned this last week, but it actually happened on Wednesday or Thursday. She says, congratulations to our intern minister, Kelly, for graduating from Star King School of Theology with a Master's of Divinity degree on Thursday. As I always like to say, I have a Master of the Divine. Right? There we go. I feel like I should have a cape or something. Maybe we'll do that for Kelly, get her a cape. Okay, Kathleen M., she lit a candle of both joy and sorrow. She said, joy, it was so wonderful to participate in the women's retreat up at Camp Devonville Pines last weekend, but the sorrow was that she was the only one from our church there. And Nancy L. also lit a candle for our wonderful Bonnie Wagner. She's moved from her assisted living place to a new home in Fountain Valley. She would love cards. So please see our administrator, Sarah or Nancy. Nancy, you want to raise your hand? It'll be over there. If you would like to get her address. And as many of you know, I honestly didn't forget that today is Mother's Day. So Jeffrey S., he lit a candle of joy. He said, my mother, who is my adopted mother, has given me so much room to grow and to be who I am today. Awesome. I love that. And Ernesto G., he lit a candle of joy and sorrow. Said, having had a wonderful mother, and for the mother of our 3 sons, and for the sorrow of having lost her on this day 6 years ago. I just realized I forgot to read what was online here, so let me just read those. So if you would like to light a candle, Dawn, for V, she would like a candle of joy. She said, I got to wake up this morning and get a big hug from my wonderful kid. Being mom is my favorite part of life. And Lee Marie, candle of gratitude, she would like lit. She says, oh, yet again for another wonderful service, wonderful music, and an awesome sermon. Oh, thank you. Which I will be sending to so many people who I hope will be informed and inspired by our faith. Feel free, anytime. It's on YouTube. All right. Thank you. All right, I'll continue here. We've got Bella S. She lit a candle of sorrow because this is the first Mother's Day without her mom, who died on Easter. I'm sorry, Bella. Alejandro lit a candle of joy. She says, in celebration, celebrating my mother and her life. On May 6th marked 12 years of her passing, and on May 10th, today, is 12 years since she was laid to rest, exactly on Mother's Day. I love you and celebrate your life. Happy Mother's Day. And Prasan lit a candle of concern and hope about his mother. He says, last week found out that my mom had several clogged cardiac arteries. She is undergoing an interventional procedure on Thursday, and we are all hoping it goes well. Grateful that my siblings can be with her in India for this, and I will visit her later in the month. Good that we can tag team. It's good to have siblings. Let's see here. Let's see, can you light a candle? We've had another one come in from Lori Kay. She would like a candle of remembrance for her mother, Jean Elizabeth, who has long passed. And another one just came in. Sarah J., our administrator, she would like a candle of joy. She said, my son Anthony just showed up with flowers for me on Mother's Day. It's all right over there. That's sweet. Okay. Let's see here. Brandon C. lit a candle of sorrow because a close friend whose brother took his own life last week after a long battle with depression. I'm sorry, Brandon. And Emma V. lit a candle of sorrow and also one of hope. Said, my 2-year-old only daughter was put up for adoption. My son got meningitis and underwent brain surgery. He doesn't speak. Their dad won't let me see them, and I can't go home. I'm sorry, Emma. That is, I think, all of our joys and sorrows being read out loud today. So, let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. I want to invite you to join Dawn in a spirit of prayer or meditation.
In honor of Mother's Day, we offer this blessing for all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, and extended family members who mother, the soon-to-be mothers. They wish they were mothers. They never wanted to be mothers. The it's complicated mothers. The birth mothers, foster mothers, adoptive mothers, stepmothers, the used-to-be dad mothers, and more than one mom mothers. The single mothers, separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, unhoused mothers, the grieving mothers, those who grieve their own mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all dads who mother and the communities that mother, and for all who depend on the Great Mother, you are held, you are loved, and we are grateful.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice. And say together, we extinguish our chalice, that not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, these we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. If you'd like to know more about our church, we invite you to either stop by the welcome table in the courtyard outside or contact us at one of the many contact spots here, and we will help you get connected. Zoomers are welcome to stay after and chat with one another online. We do want everyone to feel the same sense of belonging that we felt when we arrived here. So please reach out and we'll reach right back.
All right, lots of announcements as always. So you can see all sorts of fun stuff going on. If you were inspired by today's sermon to want to do something about the world, Randy Kokel. Randy, where are you? Where's Randy? He's out there. Okay, he's somewhere here. He's on Zoom. Okay, he was here earlier. That's so funny. But anyway, so he's going to start a UU the Vote. This is actually a nationwide program that we've done as a denomination in the past about getting out the vote. It's nonpartisan. As you know, we cannot endorse any candidates or any parties. That's part of our 501c3 standing. But we can talk about issues. And so he wants to get out the vote. So see Randy, and if you want his information, let me know, and I will get you his information. The couple other things going on, we've got our big auction coming up on May 30th. I want to invite everybody is welcome to that. It's a lot of fun, but you have to buy a ticket. And if you can't buy it, don't worry about it. Just sign up and come, and I'll buy you the ticket. It's fine. So I don't want anybody to feel excluded from coming to the auction. It's a lot of fun, and you know, because Jolene's helping run it with the beach party, and you know it's going to be a blast. So, but next Sunday is the last time to put your auction event in the auction. So if you're like me and keep procrastinating about it, you want to get it in as soon as possible. There's lots of fun things you can do, from, hosting a dinner, or I've done one on the history of chocolate, because, hey, I've taught tarot cards. I've done all sorts of fun things that you can do. So I want to just invite you to do something like that. I think I might do another Scotland one, where like a slideshow about Scotland. I went to Iona, and then also I've been to the Isle of Skye, which is just breathtaking. So at any rate, so I'll probably be putting that in there as well. And then of course the big one is happening next week. We've got the Environmental Film Festival. How many people have got their tickets? All right, excellent. All right, today might be your last time to get a ticket. So get a ticket, it'll be out there. There's a white tablecloth, look for it, and sign up and get your ticket for the Environmental Film Festival. If you've never been to them, it's really cool, because what we do is we have these short films, like little documentaries, and they're most of them are actually about what people are doing to help save our earth. So it's just inspiring. It's wonderful. We're actually having some of the people who did the directing for it are going to be there. We're going to have a little Q&A with them. It should be a lot of fun. And then also the Friday before, so on Friday, this coming Friday, right, we actually have an art exhibit going on in the foyer. Linda Sperry has been gathering artists from all across Orange County, including me. And I'm going to have so we're going to have, we have an art display going up there, and we have a nice, wonderful, gathering of things. So just come by for that and look at this beautiful art. I saw one of the artists stop by today, because she invited the entire OC community, and it's just this beautiful picture of people on the beach. It's just gorgeous. So you don't want to miss that. So it's a fun weekend we've got coming up, of a party on Friday night, and then we've got films on Saturday, and then Sunday we've got it's Music Sunday. This is the first time Susan and Steve have done this, and the choir and you all will be participating. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. The week after that is also Flower Communion. So this is it. If you don't know Flower Communion, it's an annual thing that we do here as a church. Actually, all Unitarian Universalists do it. So I want to invite you all out to that. And don't forget to bring a flower. We'll have more information for you next week on that as well. Okay. All right. As the choir sang, if we want a garden, we're going to have to sow the seeds in our children and in our country. So please join in singing our recessional song. This service is over. Let our service continue. Thank you, everyone.